Oh, what do we got? Oh, Undead Mirror. Man, we're seriously not lucky today, are we? I mean, I am lucky to have you boys around me, but first we had a human mirror. Now we have an undead mirror. And yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I mean, recently I saw like it happened, of course, in the Dust League tournament, but it also happened on ladder a couple of times now, where Happy goes against Starbuck's random, and Starbuck gets Night Elf, goes Keeper, Happy goes Lich first, and Starbuck won, I think, 2 or 3 times with that happening. And I think with the buffed Keeper, that would be even more powerful, probably. But this is like, I feel like, is a non-risk for Happy, right? He can go whatever opening, it will be fine.
Yeah, that's probably going to be Lich Ghouls. I'd be really, really surprised to see a different
actually.
opening. Wow. And Bucky goes Lich. Okay.
Yeah. Happy has to play like 1-0 Dust against Happy now.
So let's quickly summarize what happened to Undead, because it's a lot on this patch. We have a new item which can dispel on tier 2, which is potentially broken and great and might open up a way to play Undead without destroyers. Lich Nova crowd control is weaker. Curse is cut in half, but that won't do too much. Curse and cripple affect mechanical units. That won't in this case also not do too much. Wagons are faster. And Ghoul Frenzy researches 15 seconds later, as well as being weaker in attack speed. I think that is the essential changes.
Should be a bigger, like the last one, probably should be a bigger change or like worse for the Lich player than the DK player, right? In my head.
Well, obviously the slow duration being nerfed is significant, but to be honest, it's still the same on level 1. So for the very early game skirmishes, it's going to play out the same way. And to be honest, even at level 2, it's a 1 second difference. So that's a level 3, level 4 Lich. It still plays relatively similar. So I feel like it won't change the dynamic too much. I'm actually interested about the Impale mana cost being reduced to 90. Yeah. Cryptlord, I think, is pretty sleeper OP in Undead Mirror still. To be quite honest, I think it's quite strong.
1-0
thinking of the Frenzy change. Also as for the Lich player, right? Who's gonna go even more ghoul heavy probably than the DK player that would go into Fiends faster.
True that. Alright, Happy here going for a bit of instant harass on the base. I'm actually really interested to watch this matchup play in the early game. There have been times where I've been stuck with DK against a Lich player as well, like opening DK ghouls against random, and then you're against a Lich player. I really hate being in that situation, so I really want to see how Happy deals with this, because it feels like the Lich has so much more control over the early game than the DK does. I can recall seeing a few games of a level 1 DK of 120 versus like a 2.5 Lich from Happy, so I'm like, oh, this doesn't look so strong. But yeah, let's see what he can do against Starbuck, obviously. But that Lich securing level 2 already is pretty sweet. Surprised that Bucky's letting the turtle go to Happy though in the top left corner.
Seems like he's returning the favor by just rushing across, as Happy is teching already, so every Acolyte would probably be a cancel tech, or the second Acolyte would probably be a cancel tech. But Happy isn't done in the base yet.
To be honest, this might be a 200 IQ move from Starbuck here. If he can play... Yeah, exactly. Happy just TPs immediately. I think he realizes here that he's been sort of put into check here. And he really needs to respond to this base dive, because it would be absolutely devastating against his Acolytes, obviously. There we go, the surround potentially on the Lich is pretty close. In the meantime, though, the ghouls are harassing the Akos at the back. Starbuck obviously trying not to get surrounded for as long as possible.
Happy start moving Akos for a couple of seconds there.
Yeah, actually 2 Acolytes go down, and there's still quite a lot of the tech remaining. The trouble is, how many ghouls will Starbuck lose here?
These
not
two
too
will
many,
die
honestly.
for sure.
Honestly, pretty worth trade. Lich is 2.5, only 2 ghouls going down. Happy does get the level 2 online finally, but we're going to see the gold difference by the time the players get to tier 2, and it's going to be a pretty significant difference. Also double Nerubian as well.
If the Nerubians were, as originally suggested in the old patch notes, were magic instead of piercing,
Please make them magic.
They would be pretty good against those ghouls, actually. Just thinking.
Well, one thing to note about the magic change, which is something that I did support, but something thing that I didn't think about actually is piercing makes them better against dryads, and magic
Yeah, yeah.
would make it so that they could not attack dryads.
I
Something
know.
worth considering as well. Ooh, nice coil just in the nick of time, keeping that Gu alive as well. And yeah, Happy, I think his game plan really is just to make sure the Lich doesn't hit an easy level 3. Because what often happens is if a Lich player gets to level 3 early, they just buy boots and staff and try to kill acolytes during your tier 3 tech as well. And it could just set you so far behind. It's Gargs though. Something I didn't actually realize was happening in the meantime.
Huh.
Pretty interesting. From one base though, doesn't feel super good, I would say, in Undead Mirror. I think Starbuck probably could have just played kind of standard. Maybe he doesn't want to rely on Frenzy Ghouls as you would have expected. Like in the current meta.
Yeah, feels like it will create some time now as there's literally no anti-air. Starbuck not going for any, like, wand of negotiation to deal... Dude, I always say that. Wand of negation to deal with the skeletons. That's probably not enough value. So I guess Starbuck's trying to get rid of Happy and steal the dragon as fast as possible. He got full mana. He can threaten Happy a bit more.
Yeah, just a note for everybody, Wand of Negation is 2 charges and 150 gold. I mean, Rod of Necromancy is 4 charges and 150 gold. So you'd have to be dispelling at least like 4 skeletons at a time for it to even feel kind of worth it, I feel. Oh, nice last hit. They're secured with the auto attack of the DK there, but there's still a whole level difference at the moment.
No, this
Nova hurts big time
Yeah.
on the DK, obviously. So the gold difference in the mines is about 400. Then bear in mind, Happy had to remake 2 Echoes, and he rebuilt built an extra Nerubian. 650 gold difference. It's pretty extreme. Not insurmountable, but definitely pretty painful to deal with. But tech is on par, and that's pretty important because it will still mean that Happy can at least, you know, get Orb in tier 3. Third hero and Orb online at the same time. Pretty crucial.
when will will they at all? Like when will Happy start transitioning into feeds?
I think if he is going to go Fiends, it's going to happen very late. You can see that he now just has the supply the supply and gold, I should say, to make a statue. That will definitely be the priority. And there might be some Fiends, but honestly, you need a lot of gold when you get to tier 3 as Undead. You need Orban Tri-Hero, which is 800 gold, right off the bat. At least 2 statues, Frenzy Ghoul upgrade and Destroyer upgrade, it's nearly 1,000 gold. So, yeah, he can only... Oh, he's actually making the Fiend right now too.
Yeah.
I mean, the web being cheaper helps him a bit here as well, right? In this
True.
specific situation.
Actually, one of my favorite changes, and I think that might fly under the radar for some people, but there's been so many games, you probably feel the same way, Neo, sometimes. There's so many games you're like, man, I wish I had web right now, but it's like 150 gold, 150 wood, and I don't want to spend that. Making it 100 is so comfy for Undead. I'm actually a really, really big fan. But obviously, I'm a filthy Undead main, so...
I like that you give me the credit here and think that I am starved for resources, but I'm so bad and I'm floating so many of them that I don't even notice.
That's actually like an interesting point. The worse you get, the better lowering research time is, because you're like lower level players are worse at using resources, but then they have to like catch up by doing stuff. They have enough money, they don't have enough time. At the higher levels, the cost matters more and more because everything is optimized anyways.
Very fair point, Dondolare.
But on the, other side,
thanks, Quberte.
But on the other side, isn't prolonging research time more impactful on the pro level because timings are so sharp?
Yeah. So it depends. Like if there's researchers very much like built into a very specific timing, it matters quite a lot, right? For research, Friends is the obvious one, like currently in the PTR. But I would feel like web is more of a generalized upgrade. Like you get it when you need it, It's not that often as like a part of a build, and then I think the statement still holds true. So yeah.
I would say though that making the cost cheaper might make it so that you can incorporate it as part of a build.
Yeah.
For example, I play a lot of one base against human, and there's many occasions where I would like to have had web sooner, just to make sure that like a Zeppelin drop isn't successful. You know, with like Archmage and Footman dropping on your acolytes. Happens a lot, and having web earlier online would have definitely helped, or at least being able to justify the cost of it, because 150 is a lot.
Yep.
Alright, Happy finally getting online here. 3-2 heroes, pretty decent. Obviously, third hero will be added as well. And yet, he's pretty focused on getting as many fiends as possible, so much so that he actually couldn't get a third hero. Yep, there we go. Cancels the fiend, buys Dark Ranger. Perfect 50 supply. And Starbuck, you know, he's making quite a lot of extra buildings. You know, we've got an additional crypt, sacrificial pit, and a boneyard. So Bucky here, you know, he's not even 50 supply, can't even get a third hero at the moment. That allows Happy here to take the middle here with his obviously superior tri-hero at the moment. Oh, Starbuck missing the Nova last hit here, unfortunately, on the Forest Troll. Wouldn't make a huge difference anyway, but, you know, every little bit helps. And yeah, Starbuck kind of playing the long game here, you know, just wanting to get up to worms. Obviously, Frostworms are pretty strong if you can get enough of them. But it feels like Happy's more standard composition means he's just going to take, you know, absorb more of the map and potentially just have stronger heroes and items anyway.
Yeah, I feel like especially since he's going for a worm, he desperately needs at least level 3 decay for that coil, otherwise the worm will probably not feel it at all. I'm not too sure if I love the Dreadlord too much in this specific scenario, because there's not like too much mass, which it's usually good for, but then on the other side, sleep should be alright at the perfect moment. Very interested to see the worm in effect though. The boneyard, of course, cheaper now as well. This is still a very specific case, and I don't think this will become meta or anything, but interesting to see.
Yeah, so one thing I will say about the Dreadlord is Gulgarg Worm, I think, is always best paired with Dreadlord as a third hero. Sleep is just so pivotal in ensuring like the DK can't throw a coil at a specific time, that the Lich can't Nova all of your Gargs. There's just so many useful cases where the Dreadlord can disable a hero, and because it's so instant cast and cast from range, you know, a point-and-click spell, so it is. He is the perfect accompaniment to this strategy in particular. Oh, this is a little bit of bad timing here though for Starbuck. Does manage to get the item and the Ogre, of course. One Garg might be going dead. Nope. Nice. Ensnare wears off. And the coil keeps the Garg alive. But bear in mind also the Gargs are not upgraded whatsoever, including this Frostworm. And the thing is, upgrades massively benefit Undead's Air Force in general. I would have liked to see Starbuck get at least the first attack upgrade earlier and potentially start on the second. Happy, I've seen this quite a lot from him. He likes to break upkeep kind of early sometimes, just to ensure like he can have full map control. But of course there is a price to pay behind that. Oh, Garg gets kind of wiped out of range here. Almost Starbuck feels committed. Oh, no coil on the Dreadlord, of course, the silence on the DK. Starbuck only just now popping the B scroll, and this feels like it might be a little bit tough here for Starbuck to defend. But then again, the Fiends are actually going down pretty quick. Nice coil by Happy though.
Yeah, Destroyers are basically out of the battle, just outside of that completely, just running away from a guard.
Yeah, actually 4 foot of Gargs chasing away 10 foot of Destroyers. That's pretty sweet for Starbuck, has to be said. Oh, Nova incoming potentially as well, but you see these Gargs just being webbed, and when they get split up and can't focus the same target because you don't have such a huge mass, they can feel really underwhelming against Fiends.
Yeah, it's like the Fairy Dragon strat we used to see
Precisely,
more.
yeah.
When this, like, you see that battle turning when suddenly there's a couple of, like, the fairies are just kind of getting split everywhere. Both went for Shades.
Sorry?
Both went for Shades, no? I think both. I mean, he, of course, Starbuck had to do because of the build, but Happy also went for early Shade.
Yeah.
Been like evolution, I would say, like, fairly recently that Happy started evolving Shades a lot more than he used to.
Pretty cool to see. Not sure why he needed a Shade in this particular game, but I think a Shade never hurts. It can just feel a little bit awkward to incorporate into your build as all, but they are obviously very useful in the right situation. Happy here kind of losing track of his army a bit here though. That's going to be 2 ghouls and a fiend going down, but then again, of course, Happy here diving Starbuck's base right now, killing multiple ghouls. We see acolytes are pretty much all wiped out as well. There's one saved at the bottom of the Black Citadel here. But yeah, Bucky kind of struggling here a little bit. His supply is dwindling, and there's no TP on his side either. Oh, defensive TP from Happy though.
Yeah, that was a surprising TP, I felt like, given that he had Starbuck at 3 units slowed. So if it's like TP's a bit more offensively, those 3 units are struggling behind.
DK has been silenced again on Starbuck's side, can't coil the Dreadlord. Of course, the Dreadlord also silenced, can't cast any sleep on the DK. Nice counter trades by Starbuck, but this is always the trouble when you don't have the overwhelming massive Gargs, is that they'll get webbed, and then one just kind of remains webbed while you retreat, and it gets picked off. And this sort of skirmishing is not really beneficial for the Garg player whatsoever.
Yeah, and Starbuck had to rebuild all 5 acolytes, right?
Oh, Shade. Look at that. Shade revealing Shade. Maybe that's what it was all about in the first place for Happy.
Mad shades. Yeah, it might be, actually.
Spy versus spy.
The only thing that can counter a shade is another shade.
I couldn't help but think of the Rammstein song, like Man gegen Man. Shade gegen Shade.
Okay. Is that something you enjoy, music-wise?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's fun.
Ay.
Yeah, I know. You have strong opinions, Neo, okay?
I do. And Rammstein sucks.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. Not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing my opinion on my stream.
I should count myself lucky I don't get booted out right now. So, something that we didn't really point out is that Happy did expo behind this, but to be honest, it feels like he has a stranglehold on this game anyway. Fiend numbers will come back up en masse. Second crypt being added obviously bought the time for the expo, and again, just the Garg numbers never really reaching critical mass, and of course, only one worm pretty much present at all times feels kind of bad as well. But I do think that the changes to, you know, Boneyard and worms definitely helps Undead 2 base, that's for sure. Oh, level 5 Lich though.
Something that we also didn't mention before is that Gloves of Haze give 20% attack speed now. And
Ooh,
I felt that was noticeable on the Lich, just in that harass situation.
Yeah, 20 is very significant. Also, credit to Blizzard for actually updating the tooltip correctly, where it says increases the attack speed by 20%. Normally, this is like the small detail stuff they always miss.
So the only problem with like the
proud.
Gloves of Haze trying to calculate the difference is, I think, if I remember correctly, is that the way you calculate hero attack speed is so complicated compared to, because the defensive buff is pretty easy to just straight out do the math to see how much damage changes. I think attack speed increases for heroes is super a lot, like, because it like it interacts with agility and stuff and hero levels per, I think, just on average. It becomes super complicated at some point to actually see like what the difference is.
Yeah, does it apply to their base attack speed first, or is it applied afterwards?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what the actual order of events is there to work out what the situation is. But nice sleep there on the DK immediately. Fiends are going down kind of fast potentially. They do have 2-1 upgrades though, but wow. Nice kiting by Happy, as we would expect. Surprisingly, no manual cast web onto that worm.
Oh my god.
That would have been really nice.
The Fiend had
Nice
1
last
HP,
second
by the
coil,
way. I had it quick.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, nice literal last millisecond coil. Yeah, it feels like Happy has a bit too much here. Starbuck trying his best. Of course, level 5 Lich with those items is pretty strong. Dreadlord has 1 more sleep in him for the time being. Also a couple coils remaining on the DK.
Happy had to morph as extra destroyer at some point, right? Just to save the statue, I think. Because I don't see what's the benefit of having 3 destroyers against this composition in general.
Statue as well.
Is Happy kind of getting owned here?
I mean, he is in the food count. Like, he was up 15 food and now it's even. But the frost from going down is huge, though.
Oh man, what a shame. What a shame. That's really unfortunate for Starbuck, because he kind of clawed his way back here a little bit. I do think the mistake Happy made is that he didn't manually cast web on the Frostworm to make sure that it was webbed and that he could kite back way more easily. He kind of just manually, let it auto cast.
I mean, and also 15 fluid destroyers against this composition is not helpful at all. Like one
Definitely
maybe
not.
at most, but like this 10 foot of those destroyers kind of just brick damage, like small damage at stuff, and then they do nothing and have to run.
Value heal scroll. Man, that heal scroll. Second to last coil though for the Lich of Starbuck. He does have an Invo Potion prepared. Needs to be careful of Happy's Lich just suddenly consuming a skeleton or a fiend and noving the Lich to death. Could be close. Feels like,
Happy's
you know,
struggling here. He has no wood either. He has
Yeah.
47 wood.
A
He
lot
is
of
getting.
those
He has
control away.
double crypt now though, so he can keep fiend production. But I would say like the food count is more inclined to say 44 for Happy and 44 for Starbuck. If you think of two of the destroyers as kind of not an impact in the fights.
Yeah. And obviously in terms of fighting power, destroyers are virtually useless against Gulgarg. It's just so that sleep could be removed.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But obviously 3 of them is kind of overkill, and I guess it was just because he wanted to save a statue. But yeah. Trouble is this expo's been running for a while. Are we surprised that Happy didn't decide to experiment at all in this particular series? I think he's gunning for those $75.
Yeah. That was to
bucks.
be expected, but it's kind of cool to have one player experimenting and one player going with the norm to see the differences.
Can always rely on Starbuck to provide us with the actual kind of information that we need and the testing that we need.
And also to defend Happy here, it's very hard to go experimental when you're playing a random opponent.
I suppose that's kind of true.
I mean,
GG?
it was like given that it was an undead mirror. If Happy knew it would be super experimental for him to go DK first.
Oh yeah.
Damn, that was
It was a close game at one point.
quite
Actually.
a close game indeed. And that was like Starbuck started out as an undead, I think, when he transitioned from StarCraft to Warcraft, but it's not really his main anymore at all. It's rather human orc.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. Progressing from undead to being sort of like a human orc / random player. It's pretty unique. Definitely not so many, high level players that are playing multiple races.
It's only him and Infi, right? At this point?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, the one player I actually would like to see try to do it more often. Maybe it doesn't need to, I guess. So why would they? But I think the one player that has the potential to do it, just given his random MMR and how much he plays it, is Sock. Sock has been consistently 2k5 plus random on ladder for several seasons now, and does play it quite a bit.
Yeah, he does.
But I mean, he plays human. Why would you switch?
Maybe against Orc.
Maybe.
But I mean, the thing is,
also,
like, the probably like statistic-wise, the best matchup then would be going into Undead. But I feel like Undead Orc is also a very specialized matchup to actually like be good with Undead against Orc. So maybe not.
We roll the dice again.
I feel like
Foresight.
Sock also.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was oh my god, no way. Oh, come on. Can we just disconnect? Oh, fuck this. Starbuck is undead again. Now, what the fuck?
That's it. That's its chat.
Like, I tried to
Neo
not curse
finally
that
lost
much
his
for
shit.
the monetization, Neo, but thank you. I feel like I can do whatever now.
Yeah, sorry. When you're angry, and you have to get it out.
I know.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
There's a certain Korea man I know that has this motto.
He rarely curses, though.
He's never angry, which is the irony.
I love the irony of AKM, but yeah. Unfortunately, it's an undead mirror once again, which unfortunately means that we will probably not be seeing any deviation from Happy's side, and Starbuck may try something with worms again. Since because of undead mirror, like the undead changes in particular, doesn't mean that we're going to see like a lot of deviation in strategy. Most of the critical components that you like of an army comp you would make in Undead Mirror remain the same, despite the changes. So probably no deviation there.
The map is
out for a
totally
second.
different, I guess. Maybe is there a chance for an expand for Starbuck as well?
Yeah, I mean, he did pick Dreadlord for a second, then cancel the made Lich.
Ooh.
But I still think it's going to be Expo. Tidehunters is a obviously great Expo map in general, and you know the altar position's pretty aggressive. I like where the shop is as well, nestled in between the altar and crypt. Undead players take note, and this looks like he wants to minimize the travel time to the Expo. So I'd like to see that strat for sure. And that could really enable Gulgarg Worm to come online if he can make it to the later stages of this match. DK also not like terribly effective in the early game at harassing. Like another Lich is pretty good at harassing a Lich. DK isn't amazing early on, let's say. Especially selling the TP is pretty high risk.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that in the matches between Happy and 1-2-0, like Shu is always on the other foot with Happy going Lich and 1-2-0 going DK. But then it's obviously also a Tetrine build, which makes things very, very different. I don't think there's any potential for Happy to accomplish much at all, except maybe delays. But then it's Happy, so maybe he gets elasted with a skeleton, coils one creep that Starbuck isn't focusing correctly, and gets this around and kills everything. We don't know yet.
Forces are under attack.
Well, so if I was in Happy shoes, I would have probably gone for instant harass to try and delay the expo as much as possible. Happy taking his time to obviously pick up another camp, get an item, you know, halfway to level 2, plus getting a few more skellies. But he isn't really on time to steal much, although Starbuck did blow through his mana pretty heavily. And you kind of don't want to use every single point of mana to secure creeps at this early stage. You really need Nova to be able to skirmish. Oh, Happy here doing a great job focusing the Acolytes in the meantime, but Starbuck just decides to tech. I think very wise idea. This isn't going particularly well for him. Probably shouldn't really take any significant losses. But it was a wise idea, definitely, just to hit the tech button and let's just focus on playing a normal game, because this would have been pretty dicey to try and set up an expo now.
Yeah, I agree. Nice little Nova now, but as you said... Oh, misses the deny. Happy washed.
Yeah, pretty significant miss actually, because level 2 is now unlocked for Starbuck. He's taking a ton of damage on the Lich, though, it has to be said. Also, it has to be said, Starbuck didn't sell a TP or buy a skull, so don't think Expo was actually really ever on the cards, although you can sneak it in as undead sometimes. Graveyard coming up really early for Starbuck in the build order. Happy's is actually further along as well. It feels like this time, if you look at Happy's food count, he's just going to go into Fiends way sooner. So this is 6 ghouls currently at 22 supply. And there doesn't seem to be any more ghouls forthcoming, which I think is actually a great adjustment. Big fan of this sort of build as well. Just getting enough ghouls online to creep in skirmish and then just transition to full fiends. I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a classic Happy thing, right? He knows what's coming and he immediately switches things up and adjusts, because the same thing is coming with Lich, with Double Crypt, with Gargs. This will be a bit harder to unfold for Starbuck than on Concealed.
Definitely, definitely. And again, you know, Starbuck, he is forced to be one base. And it's, as we saw in Concealed, a map which, of course, typically great for Gargs. You have creeps that are vulnerable to being killed by Gargs. You have the health fountains. And it didn't really pan out for him too well. Wasn't really able to get up to the numbers needed. At this time, Happy with this adjustment early on. He's going to have so many more Fiends compared to the previous game. Could be tough for him, for Starbuck here to actually make something happen, but we'll see. Once again, Bucky with a pretty strong hero lead, of course, on the Lich. Dark Ranger, though, is the pick. Okay.
What?
This is interesting. I think this is just to prevent the Lich from getting to level 3.
Okay, there's a handful of ghouls. This is, of course, powerful now, but what is Dark Ranger doing versus Gargs and Worm?
Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty risky choice to go for Dark Ranger, because really what you need against the air is level 3 Lich, at the very least. Well, nice pickoffs though, especially with Slippers of Agility. Let it also be understood that without those Slippers, I think a couple of those ghouls would have got away. The hits were pretty much HP perfect to secure those ghoul kills. So, item lock playing a little bit of a factor here as well. And securing those, but yeah, DR, you know, she is a strong hero and absolutely essential, but level 3 Lich is essential against the air. Maybe Happy thinks he can get enough of an advantage in the meantime, and it seems to have worked out pretty well. Starbuck losing, I think, 2 ghouls there. Not able to get level 3, there's no creeps really in the vicinity.
We got also super early shade. No boneyard yet, of course, as we have to wait for tier 3. Maybe that's a good point in this mass Garg strategy to implement that shade. And he finds a fiend for pretty much free, or at least forces a coil for that. Huh. No, I'm not a fan of this Dark Ranger at all, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Happy feels like that was all he really needed to get done with her. Just delaying the Lich creeping, which worked, obviously. Starbuck kind of forced to just sort of not do much of anything. Unsummoning his crypt, actually, as well. So, I think he's realized that you probably can't get away with just massing Gargs. Maybe is gonna just try mass Worms instead? Or just have fewer Gargs to make space for more Worms, you know what I mean? So you're not gonna have as many Gargs, but you're gonna have maybe 2 Worms. Oh man, the Lich here.
Oh my god, he has to TP when he's an inch away from the shop. That feels so bad. Dark Ranger's diving, but not for too long.
What building did Bucky cancel, by the way? North of Altar.
Crypt. He unsummoned second Crypt.
Okay, second Crypt. Then.
Yep, second Crypt was unsummoned. Happy reaching tier 3, planting the sacrificial pit himself immediately and making an additional acolyte, of course. Seems to be kind of a staple of his game plan, at least in this particular series.
That's, he's pulling ghouls without queuing Frenzy. That's interesting. I'd say...
There we go.
Now he queues it.
Frenzy
now
queued
he queues it, okay.
You can really see how much longer it takes to get Frenzy. Like, that progress bar really feels like it's crawling along. 15 seconds is pretty significant. Obviously a needed change, as we've all discussed before.
Welcome to the world of normal upgrades.
Well,
I've seen my priest adept take 60 seconds for quite a long while.
It does, yeah. There's a few, the caster upgrades I think are something that could be looked at a little bit across the board, just to see what could be tweaked, and what might not need tweaking. I suppose that is a discussion for another time.
We have a creep jack, and web is finished for quite some time. Supply is clearly in favor of Happy, as Starbuck can't even get up to 50. Didn't even queue the ziggurat yet. Seems like quite a big mistake.
Yeah, a little bit of an oversight there from Starbuck, unfortunately not being prepared to get to the 50 supply, and this sea turtle, of course, is absolutely essential. Okay, Starbuck here feels forced to take and engage. There's no Lich with Orb. We're seeing the weakness of the late Lich here for Happy. Few goals going down on both sides, honestly. You can see just how they're used for cannon fodder in this matchup, just disappearing pretty much instantly. Lich finally joining the fight with Orb of Corruption online. Starbuck, though, he can't really micro the ghouls away. You see they just died like flies, and now the gargoyles are being webbed apart from each other. Can't focus any units down. I think Starbuck here is in a lot of trouble. Has to call GG.
Yeah, quick adjustments and away quicker game. Welcome to the world we live in Happy's world. He knew what was coming, he knew what to do, and he won.
Yep. Sounds like it. Sounds like a typical Happy series, right?
Yep.
Also, a lot better map for Happy versus that strat, because no dragons, no gargoyle creeping, of course.
But now, boys, I'm not a man of math. I'm not a man of numbers. I don't know how this behaves. But what are the odds that he gets undead 3 times in a row? It's basically impossible at this point.
1 in 64?
Yeah. It's
See?
not impossible.
Basically impossible.
It's unfortunately not impossible. It's pretty low chances.
It's like a 1.6% chance or something.
Yeah, see? When does that ever happen?
Wasn't it one series where we got 4 times in a row or something? I've actually been tracking this for in other cases. Starbuck asked me this on ladder searches. And there actually I can prove there's been certain cases on ladder where people get random and the same race so many times in a row that it's like statistically should be impossible.
Oh yeah. I remember a ladder session where out of 10 games, I think I had the same race like 9
there's
times.
like I think one time was like it basically went up to like 1 in a million chance or something, and of course that can happen. It just feels very unlikely because there's not that many games in World of Warcraft over time. So
I mean, usually with Happy, it was the other way around, right? The Show Cup times where not his opponent was randoming the bad spot, but he was randoming undead all the time, which I guess has an even bigger impact.
yeah, I agree.
All right. I got good news. We don't have to talk about numbers anymore, but we got to talk about
That's
orc.
bad news.
Why is that
Like
bad
your
news?
Zug and your
I'm
Loctarzo
joking.
guard.
I'm
It's
a
finally
number
the
man.
horde.
That's why. This is good. Yeah, interesting. What he'll do.
Torrent
This
tier
is the
2
match
rush?
I think we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only maybe thing that might be like I would really like to see Torrance there, but I wonder if Bucky even like does he ever go Blade Master against Undead? And I feel getting Torrance into Farseer seems very I don't know, gimmicky, but maybe.
I mean,
goes
I don't
Farseer.
think he plays Blade very often against Undead. But I don't think it's gimmicky to pair it with Farseer.
Okay.
Farseer is probably the better hero at establishing an expansion because you could put more pressure on with him in the early game.
I'm very curious if Happy is gonna buy the Wand of Negation against Wolves.
I feel like it's such a waste, man.
Suspense,
I really do. I think-
Quberte, storytelling.
Okay, listen, if the One of Negation actually even does enough damage to destroy level 2 wolves, then it's something you could maybe consider. Does anyone know actually how much damage it deals to summoned units?
200.
Oh my god, needs to be at least 400.
What? Do you want to trigger a count grade? I think you just got a heart attack. I mean,
Now,
it has
there's
2
almost no point.
charges, and it has no cooldown, so it is 400 if you spam both of it.
So 150 gold to remove a set of summons.
Yep.
Or one elemental.
Mm-hmm.
It can't even kill an element. It's so bad. I see its use case to be really strong against Entangle. That's the most obvious thing where it's like, oh, it will remove Entangle. That's really good. But apart from that, it's such bad damage against summoned units that I think it doesn't
I think the
justify
use
cost.
case might be like maybe if you go, for instance, under Expo, the price kind of is not mattering that much anymore, and then even like getting a 1 treant set away is pretty powerful to keep away the tier 2 or like level 3 keeper harass push thingy.
The thing is, it's an additional cost that Undead never had to incorporate before into their
True.
like one base economy. So
Yeah, but I
it
don't
does
think
not
it's
come without a
maybe
cost.
that's my point. Maybe it's not that relevant on one base, but maybe it can be a pretty big buff to Expo play.
Happy playing around the last hits like a master, as always, as we should come to expect of him.
Oof,
Level
and
2 online as
Forester
well.
getting
This is a
slowed was
dangerous
super
point.
impactful. Oh, he let go of this round. He actually had it there.
Yeah, I think he could have blocked in the Farseer against the wall. This level 4 is a little bit the skeleton here is a little bit tricky because it has 4 armor.
Getting those last hits against Happy is such a meaningless strength. You have to try,
It-
but like,
It does feel like it, doesn't it?
won't ever happen.
Man, this is not what you want to see as the orc. Even if Starbuck gets a return kill here, it's still a grunt going down. It's a lot of experience. The ghoul's even gonna get
No
away.
deny either. Hard to get, of course, but
Gotta try for it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Aggressive Voodoo Launcher. What's that telling us?
Oh, is he playing Firelord?
Why do you think that?
We actually got a last hit there, I think. Looking at the Forester experience bar.
Yeah, a little bit of a last hit. Not too significant though in the grand scheme of things. DK still far ahead. Great items, of course. Look at the right click damage from the DK right now. Pretty sweet. Yeah, Shadow Hunter, second. Maybe double beastry?
I would assume so. That would be logical. That's what most orcs do or try against Happy. And this is where I called you the prophet today, Quberte. in the cast of Happy vs.
yeah?
Lin. Because we were talking yesterday about Orc players not going Wyvern and then adding a Raider, especially on Hammerfall, when we talked about the Happy vs. Focus series, remember?
Yep.
And you said a Raider would be so good, like a Raider would be the solution. And then I see the first game of the series today, and Lin has a lot of Wyvern, and all of a sudden there's a Raider, and all of a sudden there's an End Snare, and all of a sudden there's no Lich anymore. And then
He read my DMs. He read my DMs, bro.
Probably Lin read the DMs. And I gave you a shout out there. You had a big one.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I have good ideas sometimes. Just maybe they don't always hit the mark. But yeah, it just seems like the obvious solution. You can't play without any catch against a player of Happy's caliber without an insane advantage. So, in any case, this game, we are going to see a Tauren totem. That's pretty cool. Starbuck going for a pretty risky creep route, actually. A pretty common one with Shadowhunter as well, being able to get rid of the healing potentially from the High Priest or focusing the Warlord down is nice. But DK3 was searching around. If Happy came across this, I think that would have been a total disaster. Happy does manage to cancel the tower. Pretty important, of course. Orc towers do take a while to come up, but they're really strong once they're fortified and entrenched. Oh, Speed Scroll needs to be used here to save the Berserker. Nice heal salve to secure his life. Saving it to the back here. Of course, Shadow as well. Great at catching ghouls here with Hex.
Starbuck is actually going a Tauren first.
That's so fun.
But is it good?
I guess we're going to find out. That's the whole point of this, isn't it? Right?
Exactly.
We're going to see if the early Tauren does anything.
Yeah, that is a use case of a Tauren. We were speculating what the use case really is of Tauren on tier 2. With the Pulverize against ghouls, if they can reach, this could work. Or Starbuck is just going the world, showing the world that it doesn't. But he also needs levels. And we said Tauren creeping could potentially be very strong. And that might be a way to catch up. But on the other side, Wyvern would do the same.
Yeah, much faster actually as well. Like Wind Rider's creeping in absolutely ridiculous speed.
Depends on the AoE, I guess.
The AoE?
Of Tauren. If the Tauren AoE
Yeah.
hits.
If you proc the Pulverize a lot, I guess.
Oh, happy respect.
Trouble is, yeah, he's got to kind of respect it for now. We don't have Ghoul Frenzy online, of course, taking its sweet time. Destroyer form, of course, not ready either. Wait a second, Happy. Having to fight over Surround here does so. Nicely done. Of course, Book of the Dead here, pretty sweet in combination with the Spirit Walker. Spirit Link is amazing right now, especially applied to that Tauren. We can see how much damage that's tanking in the front line. Buying so much space for this Expo. Going to be 2 Destroyers though. That's going to be tough. And all the ghouls lived. Maybe one. Nah, I think actually every single ghoul survived.
That's pretty insane. Just like the donation by Potato69. This is 50 euros, $50. Holy shit, dude. My parents recently told me one man's trash is another man's treasure. What a shitty way to find out you're adopted. Potato, thank you so much for that big dono, mate. And the good joke.
What a legend. Yeah. I think it wouldn't really have mattered what unit Starbuck went for this game. We can see the Expo hasn't even started mining. The second tower here is pretty much going to die straight away. And the Tauren, it feels like they're probably not going to carry against these ghouls. Happy can also chain morph another Destroyer, and having 2 in the air, that feels like pretty much a nail in the coffin there for this army right now for Orc. However, the tower does still stand strong. Happy not willing to commit too hard, despite barricades coming up just on time for Starbuck as well. Pretty nice. I like that as well. Shadowhunter 2 feels like such a liability right now, not having the level 2 heal wave online. Low mana, not very many items as well, doesn't feel great. Tower's finally broken as well. We see a couple Pulverizes coming out. Doesn't look super strong, honestly, the damage. Without the tier 3 upgrade, of course.
Yeah,
Starbuck.
Pulverize also has a pretty long wind-up time, right? So when the Pulverize truly
Yeah.
hits, the ghouls are like 3 meters away.
Yeah. And we see, of course, you know, the timing of the Ghoul Frenzy was delayed, but the effect for the movement speed in particular was not changed. So ghouls are still incredibly agile at this stage in the game. And of course, in small army battles and low hero levels, Frenzy Ghouls are one of the best units in the game.
You could just say Frenzy Ghouls are one of the best units in the game.
I know. But need to highlight the specific circumstances that we're seeing here at least.
Yeah.
Oh, first turn. Finally being picked off here. We see the damage from the destroyers is pretty much devastating against the Tauren. Last hit from the Dark Ranger, of course, securing that kill. Grunt is equally as fodder as the Tauren is. Man, these heavy armor units feel like they just don't really do much against Destros. You need so much anti-air to
if
support
like
them.
this build somehow could incorporate bestiary with bats, maybe.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
the Headhunters don't work enough of a straight up counter. I mean, Headhunters would be very good in a big army situation if you could get like 80 foot versus 80 foot, of course. But
I'm just getting
in this small army, it's
absolutely
like it
wiped
doesn't give enough focus power to destroyers.
Absolutely true. Perhaps the goal is to skip walkers and just have Tauren Beastery. But in any case, Starbuck here tried to show us what could be done with Tauren. I think there's some more experimenting to do. But happy, you know, standard and strong as pair.
So we can change all the balance we want. The tournament winner is still the same.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody think anything else? No, but I mean, it was I think it was interesting. I mean, I would even say like the last game was like, it wasn't as of a. Of course, Starbuck is a good player, so you wouldn't expect it to necessarily be either. But it wasn't like a stomp fiesta. It was actually pretty interesting. I didn't feel like that game was. Oh, that showed that is completely hopeless to incorporate it anyway. It felt like there was options there. So yeah. Did Happy actually? No, of course he didn't, right? So that's also interesting. Like this, like in a push situation like that, he maybe wanted to buy heal scroll going into the push. Couldn't do that right now with the
True.
change for relics.
True.
Yeah, very good point. Very, very good point, actually.
Yeah, go ahead. I know you hate this change.
Yeah, it's
Good
not a
luck,
matter of balance. It's just because I like having I like having my precious scrolls that I can buy from my shop. That's all. But me enjoying that luxury does not mean that it should be in the game. So I can accept this change. The Wand of Negation certainly is not going to replace the strength of its effect. That's for sure. I don't think they'll be on the same level. But hey, maybe we'll see some use cases for the new shop item for Undead. Yeah, interesting experimentation there with Orc. I do think trying to get an expo.
Did Happy buy the wand, by the way?
I don't think so.
I don't think
He
so.
got
No.
he got pushed by a Book of the Dead. He
Yeah,
probably
but he didn't
didn't think
dispel
of
the
it.
book. Yeah, he
Yeah,
probably didn't think of it because he didn't dispel the book.
because I mean, in that specific use case, it's 100% worth 150 gold, right? Because those are low HP units, so you basically dispel everything with one dispel.
True. True. Would have wiped out the entire book immediately, plus the spirit link that was applied as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so we didn't learn too much. Tauren are not super mega OP, but definitely a threat. Happy is super mega OP, but
I
we
would
had
say
some.
Torrents look very good against human though in those maps we saw. But those concealed hills maybe also like special on that map, but it looked good on that map. Though
It was
Starbuck would have
also
won
one base
anyway.
rifle,
Yeah.
which is basically running into a meat grinder at some point.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do we need to nerf Ghoul Frenzy further?
That's tricky to say.
I mean, I think I've been saying this for quite a while. I think the damage reduction going 5% less on the attack speed increase is basically more or less impossible to measure in most games. It's 0.5 DPS less. So when those like maybe at the 10th attack and going forward, you will have like 3% less damage.
So
That is kind of insignificant. So I mean, our suggestion was 25, and I think that would be would actually be a bit more meaningful.
my
But even
thinking
then,
is
it's still
here.
8% DPS reduction. Just so that sense, it's not a lot, I would say.
My thinking here is, do you really like? Is any change to the attack speed meaningful, or should you rather focus on
Other
movement speed?
areas. Yeah.
Movement speed, cost, whatever.
Yeah, or research time, which they did change, obviously.
Yeah. Research time, I think this is fine. Now,
Research time targets the specific timing, especially against Elf. I would say 15
Exactly.
seconds or even 30 seconds plus minus against Orc might not meaningfully change that much. There's more the fact that when Frenzy is out, it's kind of hard for the Orc to Orc basically needs several minutes to get their stuff in order to go out on the map, and by that time, at least I was happy does now. He goes Expo, right? He used to just push. Now he goes Expo.
yeah.
So it's not obvious that Frenzy research time does that much with that specific case, and then maybe I agree. Maybe move speed. Move speed makes it slightly less raised opportunity cost for them to get in position. You can get a stomp easier. You can move. You can counter micro better. Might be not necessarily a bad idea. I do actually agree that maybe. I mean, it's been wanted for so long because it's so obvious because it was a buff to the unit that people it. The buff happened, and a couple of years later, wolves became super prevalent in all matchups. So it feels very obvious that that's the case, but maybe it's not guaranteed that that's the right way to target. I agree.
Any other takeaways from the little we've
Well,
seen today?
Yeah, I mean, I only caught the Jay Paris series in this series, obviously, and we saw 2 undead mirrors, so unfortunately we didn't get to see the full plethora of changes in effect. Did you have anything to note in particular against the humans that played against Starbuck?
Not really. I have another thing that's on my mind though.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen a Night Elf today in the games, but we have Pato, Razor Moon, and Kevin in the chat. Kevin is excused because of, internet and stuff. But I want to see top Night Elves tomorrow. Guys, sign up. I want to see you play. I want to see you abuse the restored Moonwell juice. I want to see you own with Potom. I want to see some Night Elf action.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like given the amount of let's say interest in these balance suggestions, discussions, and just general opinions, people should then be also more inclined to play when it's an actually open tournament in the weekends. So
I guess so.
Call to arms, call to action, basically.
Exactly. Razor is saying he's playing. Pato saying he's playing. I would love to see Dice, of course. So I know today was multiple tournaments at the same time, so maybe tomorrow is even better. Maybe today was just a warm up, and I guess that's it then.
Yeah.
For now. So Baron, are you still doing King of the Hill or what?
He's asking me to take my shirt off. I don't know how I interpret that, but
I mean, what way to interpret is there? Just do it.
they're still doing King of the Hill from what I can see. By the way.
How is he in chat then?
It's Baron. He doesn't ever observe a single second of the game he's casting, so it's obvious.
Incredible.
So true.
All right. If I have sound off, okay, but he's in chat. Wonderful. More Warcraft action from a grassroots community will be hosted here on the channel. Sign up. The more people sign up, the longer Baron has to stream. I will listening in. Dondo will be in the cast. Qubert, what are you doing with the rest of your evening?
Chilling out, my main. Yeah, I'll be hanging out.
Oh, actually,
I'll be hanging around, so you could just collect me, take me to wherever you're hanging, and I will join you.
Sweet. What are you saying, Dondo?
I'll write it to you in DMs, don't worry.
Oh, okay. Nothing for you, peasants. Just private information between me and Dondo. Yeah, we got a little date now here. Enjoy the King of the Hill. Join the gym community. We're back tomorrow with the Warcraft All-Star League 2-2 Grand Final. I think. I mean, there's little schedules to throw around anymore after preponing the Grand Final today, which is mind-boggling. But, you know, wouldn't be too atypical to see a Happy versus 40 show match after the 2-2 Grand Final. And then, of course, the second PTR tournament test tomorrow. And take care. Happy is the GOAT.